Tom Hanks has often been hailed as America's dad, a warm presence both on screen and in his public life. Films like Forrest Gump and Big painted him as a relatable figure, someone who could deliver heart and humor in equal measure. Off-screen, he fostered a reputation for friendly interactions with fans, random acts of kindness, and a humility rarely seen among Hollywood's elite. Yet, in a twist that challenges these perceptions, his daughter E.A. Hanks depicts a starkly different family story. In her memoir, A Memoir of Family and the Open Road, E.A. writes about growing up amid a household marked by chaos, emotional strain, and what she sees as Tom's noticeable absence. Such revelations run counter to Tom's celebrated public image. How could the actor whose roles so often epitomize fatherly devotion and benevolence be detached from his own child's struggles? Even more baffling is Tom's current silence in response to E.A.'s claims. Rather than denying or confirming them, he has allowed the memoir's account to stand largely uncontested. Insiders speculate he may be grappling with guilt, trying to protect loved ones, or adhering to a personal belief that private matters should remain private. As EA's narrative gains traction, fans and critics alike ask why America's dad isn't setting the record straight, or at least offering his side. E.A. Hanks's memoir contrasts her life in Sacramento with her father's increasingly glamorous existence in Los Angeles. While Tom was rising through the acting ranks and eventually claiming stardom, E.A. recalls a home environment that felt anything but secure. She describes her late mother, Susan Dillingham, as unpredictable, someone who could go from warm affection to anger in moments. Expired groceries, constant cigarette smoke, and a general sense of neglect were daily realities, leaving E.A. without the stability she craved. According to E.A., Tom's visits were too few to counter mounting instability. She doesn't paint him as cruel. Rather, she highlights a detachment that left her vulnerable. Fans who believed Tom's familial warmth matched his film roles now wonder if Hollywood's demands led him to overlook serious red flags. Did Tom assume Susan had their daughter's well-being under control, or did he fail to recognize how bad things had become? The memoir forces readers to grapple with the tension between someone who can be caring in public, yet distant at home. A pivotal aspect of E.A.'s account centers on Susan's potential mental health struggles, possibly bipolar disorder. Decades ago, stigma and a lack of resources often deterred families from seeking psychiatric help. E.A. describes a household constantly on edge, never sure which version of Susan would appear at any given moment. One day might bring laughter and closeness, the next, an eruption of paranoia or anger. Tom's place in all this remains ambiguous. If he was aware of Susan's state, E.A. implies he didn't intervene in a meaningful way, perhaps trusting that occasional check-ins and financial support were enough. Others argue that, in a less open era, Tom might not have fully grasped how drastically untreated mental health issues could shape his daughter's upbringing. Either way, E.A.'s revelations highlight a universal truth. Mental health neglect leaves deep scars, especially for children caught in the crossfire. One of the most resonant chapters in the 10 details E.A.'s 6-month road trip with Susan at age 14. Intended as a short jaunt, it morphed into a protracted odyssey of budget motels and emotionally charged car rides. E.A. recalls interludes of genuine bonding, laughing at roadside attractions, sharing late-night snacks, only to have them interrupted by Susan's sudden shifts in mood. For a teenager already longing for consistency, the extended journey deepened her sense of isolation. She wondered why Tom didn't come searching for them, whether he knew the trip had spiraled so far beyond its original scope, and if legal constraints truly kept him at bay. Critics of E.A.'s narrative suggest teenage memory can be dramatic, but supporters insist her underlying sense of abandonment remains valid. Regardless, the episode magnifies the clash between Tom's high-profile Hollywood life and the raw uncertainty E.A. endured on the open road. Actor Colin Hanks, E.A.'s older brother, offers a different lens on their father. Having spent significant time with Tom, he eventually built his own acting career, often crediting Tom for mentorship and moral support. Meanwhile, Tom's children with Rita Wilson grew up in a stable household removed from Susan's struggles. These divergent childhoods mean each sibling may have experienced Tom's fatherhood in radically different ways. E.A. contends that while some of her siblings enjoyed a more present or supportive version of Tom, she faced emotional and physical upheaval. It's a phenomenon common in blended families. One child's chaotic memories can coexist with another's positive upbringing under the same parental umbrella. E.A.'s disclosures force a public reckoning with the idea that even beloved Hollywood families can harbor deep internal rifts. Celebrities facing controversy today often release statements or address conflicts on social media. Tom Hanks, however, has consistently chosen a different tactic: saying nothing. Observers offer varied explanations for this reticence. One theory is that Tom adheres to an older Hollywood ethos, where family matters remain private no matter what. Another suggests he sees no benefit in publicly contradicting EA, perhaps respecting her right to share her truth. Yet this silence creates a vacuum, one quickly filled by speculation. Some interpret his refusal to speak as a tacit admission that EA's perspective holds weight. Others believe he's discreetly aiming to protect all parties, EA included, from an explosive public debate. If father and daughter are working toward reconciliation, any public denial or defense might inflame tensions rather than ease them. Tom Hanks' stardom amplifies every aspect of this conflict. Parents with less public visibility can grapple with custody issues or challenging ex-partners in relative obscurity. In Tom's case, iconic roles, from Forrest Gump to Sheriff Woody, make him feel like a personal friend or mentor to millions. EA's portrayal of him as absentee jars fans who see Tom as the embodiment of warmth and moral fortitude. Some argue that fame, ironically, can isolate a star from realizing the depth of problems at home. If Tom provided financial support and occasional visits, he might have believed he was fulfilling his duties, never grasping how dire the day-to-day environment was for EA. She, on the other hand, lived in the thick of Susan's rages and paranoia, yearning for a father's steady presence that she felt never came. Susan ultimately died of lung cancer in 2002, leaving unresolved questions about her mental health and the extent of Tom's involvement. EA paints a picture of Susan grappling with possible bipolar episodes that went untreated, partly due to societal stigma. Tom's busy schedule could have limited his availability, but EA insists that more direct support, legal, emotional, or medical, could have changed her teenage reality. Publicly dissecting Susan's struggles would force Tom to revisit painful times, potentially overshadowing his current family life with Rita Wilson. By remaining silent, he avoids relitigating the past or casting blame on a deceased ex-wife. Yet, this also means EA's version remains the dominant narrative. For many observers, Tom's quiet stance seems like an admission that her story contains truths he can't openly dispute without reopening old wounds. Colin Hanks occasionally alludes to family challenges, but rarely delves into Susan's final years or EA's detailed memories. His interviews tend to highlight the guidance he received from Tom, presenting a picture of paternal support that diverges from EA's. The children Tom shares with Rita Wilson, in turn, grew up largely unaware of the Sacramento turmoil. Their perspective on EA's memoir may range from skepticism to sympathy, but they too have chosen discretion over public commentary. This collective hush from the Hanks family suggests a preference for privacy, even as EA's revelations gain momentum. In an era of social media oversharing, the Hanks clan stands out by withholding further details. Yet, the lack of a counter-narrative lends credibility to EA's portrayal. If her account were grossly inaccurate, skeptics say, wouldn't someone in the family offer a rebuttal? With no official statement from Tom, rumors swirl. Some claim he reached out to EA privately, attempting to make amends without feeding public curiosity. Others suspect he hopes the memoir's shockwaves will subside, allowing him to continue as the genial star untainted by scandal. On internet forums, fans dissect old interviews, hunting for hints of regret or cryptic apologies. EA's memoir resonates with those who have felt overshadowed by a parent's fame or caught in the crossfire of a deteriorating household. Critics question EA's motives, accusing her of leveraging Tom's celebrity for personal gain. Yet many find her depiction genuine and heartbreaking. A teenager lost in a swirl of mental health crises, absent parenting, and a father whose life trajectory seemed to overshadow her needs. Even those unconvinced by every detail acknowledge the emotional weight of her story, wondering whether Tom's silence might be an act of tacit understanding or lingering remorse. Real healing in families often happens away from media cameras. If Tom and EA are talking privately, they could be making progress that's invisible to the outside world. Silence, in that sense, might be a strategy to safeguard those delicate steps. Alternatively, Tom's reticence could stem from emotional avoidance, where confronting the memoir's accusations feels too painful. EA, for her part, may have found catharsis in publishing her story, placing the onus on Tom to acknowledge her experiences, publicly or otherwise. fans inclined to defend Tom note his long-standing reputation for kindness and generosity. They suggest he might have evolved from any oversights in EA's childhood, becoming the supportive father figure known to later generations. But EA's memories remain a stark reminder that personal growth can't erase past hurts. Whether or not Tom ever speaks publicly, her words speak volumes about a teenager who felt unseen, even as her father became one of Hollywood's most revered figures. Tom Hanks is silent after his daughter's shocking claims. Here's why. The reasons likely lie in a mix of personal regret, a protective instinct for family privacy, and an aversion to airing painful history before a scrutinizing public. E.A. Hanks's memoir, The 10, a memoir of family and the open road, compels us to question how well we really know our favorite stars. It underscores the gap between the roles an actor plays and the choices he might make in private, especially when fame intersects with mental health crises and complex family dynamics. For some fans, Tom's silence marks a perplexing contradiction, tainting the image of a man celebrated for his fatherly warmth. Others see it as a dignified decision, preserving what remains of a family bond that doesn't need tabloid validation. In either case, EA's story stands as a powerful testament to the struggles of adolescence in a troubled home, proving that even the brightest Hollywood spotlight can't illuminate every corner of a family's hidden struggles. Ultimately, the tension between America's dad and his daughter's pain may serve as a reminder that heroes on screen, no matter how beloved, can still have unresolved chapters lurking in the shadows.